team. I'm here at the Collaboration Summit, session number 5. This next little guru that's on as our guest is another graduate of Collaboration 101. She's actually a designer, a developer, and a strategist. Not one or the other, but all three. And she is the witty web girl. Welcome, Mary Jo Staebler, to the Collaboration Summit.
Thank you, Kim. I'm very webby here.
And the tongue-tied princess. Sorry.
It's okay.
I think it's hysterical. After you do so many of these, you just kind of roll with the messy.
It makes it so much easier to watch.
It makes people know I'm the real deal and not some, fake something, because let me tell you, I make plenty of mistakes. Well, Mary Jo, thank you, number one, for being one of the graduates. See, I'm still struggling. They're one of the graduates of Collaboration 101. You did a fabulous job in the class. And I just would like to know, what you learned from the class.
Oh man, there is so many things that I learned in this class. And it was very helpful because it's very eye-opening seeing the stuff that I've gone through in terms of my own business and working with people and what, people may say that was a collab or something to that effect, and realizing that, wow, I am not doing us both justice, the person that I maybe was working with, in terms of understanding what a collaboration really is. Because, that's basically what the class is about, right? Learning about collaboration. And I learned about collaboration and what exactly it is. And it's interesting because in the end, it's really practical kind of information, but it's like, unless you really have it in front of your face, you don't really recognize and take it at what it really is. And so learning and understanding that collaboration is something where you definitely need to make a plan, because the plan helps you in so many ways. That it clarifies the ambiguous stuff that sometimes happens between two people when they're starting to work together. It makes it crystal clear of who's doing what. You know what I mean? So understanding that, okay, don't expect me to do something I'm not going to do. I'm not going to expect what you're going to do. We're going to have a great time, and we have a clear-cut idea what's going to happen. And so, yeah, that plan just really helps. And then the last part that really blew my mind, that I never thought about, because when I usually collaboration with someone, it's usually someone that I know, someone that I've kind of been around the block with. And this class has made me think outside that box, to think bigger and think better. And not saying that the people I don't collaborate with already are better, they're great and they're fabulous, but I can actually approach someone outside my realm, outside my comfort zone, because me, being a bit of an introvert. Now I've got it. It's like I never recognized that, I should reach for the sky, reach for big, and try my best, because in the end, you don't know how great a collaboration can be if you only think within your box.
Well, I love that. And I will tell you, having understood that people throw the collaboration word around to get you to do what they want, is not a sexy thing. Understanding that is very, it's very freeing, actually, because if you can learn what it's not, and you can recognize that, then you can call it what it really is, because sometimes it's still a good thing, but you've got to know the difference between a collaboration and a joint venture and an affiliate, and I can go on and on. There's a lot of a partnership, and collaboration is what this class was about, and it's the part that is my favorite. It's the part where you come out the other side of a class with that clarity. And I think that's one of the things that surprised me with this class, is how much clarity everyone in the class got, including the teacher. Is, with not having the right definitions, you don't know what something is. That's the thing, is we speak different languages, even though it's the same word. And if I ask you to do something and I understand one thing, it fleshes out in the plan so that you really know what you're talking about, what the responsibilities are and things. And I love that. I love that that helped you, because I know you already have done like techie work for almost 20 years, and you've worked for some really big companies and some really, big situations. And I'm thinking, if you can learn something even after going through 20 years of all that, then this is a powerful class. I mean, that's what I'm thinking.
Definitely. It is very powerful. Oh, that'll be that. Yeah, and it's amazing that, something that is, you think is like, oh, I understand collaboration. But until you really spend time and think about it and actually go through this course, you don't recognize that, wow, some things that I've gone through weren't really collaborations. They weren't really doing anyone necessarily justice. It was somewhat causing havoc, or causing some stress, or just not a smooth way of doing a collaboration, that it's like, oh, well, this class definitely helped me make sure that whatever I'm going to do now is going to be fabulous.
Well, and I agree. And I think you do fabulous stuff already. I think that you are definitely brilliant and definitely like amazing at all the things that you do. I feel like, and I've been the one pushing you on this, but I feel like just saying that you're, a web designer is really not doing you justice. And I'm glad you changed some of your words you call yourself, because you do so much more than just that little basic thing. And not to make it, little, but it's just you do so much more.
Yeah, and that's something that I've got out of this class, is learning. So then understanding what a collaboration is, and understanding how not to be taken advantage of, is that you start to clarify a lot of other boundaries that I've just never put in place. And so one of those kind of boundaries is understanding, like, okay, everyone has an opinion on who I am and what I do, but in the end, it's really for me to say who I am and what I do. And so, it was a journey definitely over the year to kind of, or even a couple of years, to go over, okay, am I really, what do people understand me as? What's really going to be clear cut, and exactly how I can help people? And so, I've learned that having the many hats that I have is not a problem. It's not necessarily confusing, as people have always told me. You've always been told, you need to, niche down, however you say it, into, one specific role, and you got to do that one thing, and it's going to be the one thing really good, which, yeah, sure, it can help some people. But for me, it's just not how I flow. It's not how I work. So, for me, I do a lot of variety of things. I do a lot of coding and PHP and backend and databases and all that stuff. I do a lot of, front end marketing and stuff. And I always do the middle, where everything meets, in terms of making it happen all together on a website. So, to put me in a box, it was just like, I don't want to go there. So that's why this definitely helped me.
Well, I'm glad you're not in a box, because I want you to show up big, like I know you can.
You've helped me with that, definitely.
You are definitely rocking the techie world, because you have helped a lot of people who were clueless about how to get a website. And we're told, I guess I want to clarify this too, we're told we can do things ourselves by marketing of the big companies that tell you, just use my website thing and you can do this all yourself. But they don't tell you the bits that you need to know. They don't tell you all the bits that go together. And I think that's one of the things that's really a good thing about working with you, is that there's a lot of moving parts. And how do we know if we've really hit the moving parts? Like, I want a certain look, and that's the side I'm good at. Like, or you know what I mean? I'm good at saying, hey, I want this, or hey, I don't want this. But it doesn't mean it's effective, and it doesn't mean that it actually is a working website.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially if you don't really recognize that, some things you may need or not need, or you think that I like these colors, or I like these, or I like, this system, and recognize that, this is actually isn't working for me, or some people who are like, what, I've kind of done this before, I don't really want to do it anymore. They hand it over because they don't have time. And so, that's where I really plug in and really shine, is helping to clarify someone and how they really are on the web. because I feel like if they, not saying that people, I mean, people do great jobs themselves. So it's not like it's like totally out of people's realms, but a lot of times if you don't recognize how it can be cluttering as well as the psychology of websites, then you could be doing yourself a disservice and not really getting your message across, where that's where I really shine and help people.
Well, and I will say, if you're not in the business of designing websites, then I don't think we really have any business doing our own. And I have done like several on my own, but I will tell you, there's a lot of things that can be said about delegating that to someone who does that all the time versus me having to spend an extra month trying to figure something out, because that's what ends up happening with us. Like, if we're new entrepreneurs, we feel like we have to do everything. We feel like, this is something I can't delegate because it's going to cost $25,000. And I think that's a really big place to start is, this is like buying a house on the internet. This is a real estate purchase. When you get a website, it's actually where you're going to live. And I don't want a $100 house to live in. In real life, I don't want to go to a rundown shack and, not have utilities or not have the things that I need to live my life there. And I think that compares to a website on the internet, is that's our house online. If we don't show up to it does need to be pretty, but it needs to be like the utilities need to be hooked up. I need electric too with the house, and I think that's one of the things that's really important to work with someone, because then you've got all of the things that actually make it a proper house and not just some place to just stay until you can find something better. I think that's what a lot of us do, is we get something that we're just going to stay there until we find something better. But it's actually less expensive to start right than to continue stressing and continue focusing on the other part. Well, at some point I'll fix this. And then we spend another week trying to fix one thing on it when 10 minutes maybe, and I'll just be honest, there's stuff that I know how to do that why would I do that if I can have something delegated and have it done quicker, and so there's a lot of times I'll SOS Mary Jo. I'll just I'll be your guinea princess. There's a lot of times I'll SOS Mary Jo and I just tell her, add it to my sheet or add it to my invoice because I just need this done. And that is a really good feeling to have, because then you don't have surprises of people that, you've got 25 people trying to sign up and contact you and they can't contact you because you didn't connect it right.
Yep. One little thing that goes wrong, and then people just don't feel that you're either a trusted source or that you have it all together, and so they just leave, and that's not great. And to realize that people who even have websites, I mean, people sell their websites because they're just so good, they're so solid, they have such background and history to it, and such a brand that they actually can sell it for a high amount of money and have people buy it. So it's not like it's something that's just a byproduct of what you do. It's actually something that has some value to it, just like a house.
Well, and I think of that even in going back to like the real estate of a house and the real estate on the internet is, would you walk away from your house that you could sell? I mean, people will like abandon their real estate online and they don't realize that is something, if you take the time to build a beautiful one and it's an impactful one and it's one that's getting traffic and it's one that's working in the ways that it needs to work, that's actually a piece of property that you could sell if you decided to change businesses.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, people make a lot of money off that. They build websites up. They build even like social media accounts to go with it, and it gets a lot of traffic. And then people want that traffic, and so they're going to buy that because it fits what they need, and they'll maybe even mold it to what they need it to be. But yeah, it's not something that's just a trivial little thing that you may or may not need. It's actually very vital to people's businesses. It is your central hub for your brand and what you represent into the online world. So it's not something just to be like, oh, all this. I mean, certainly some people do not have the funds necessarily just to start off and have that great website at the beginning, but it's definitely something to think about in your business strategy is how can I have a website that actually represents me and gets me out in the world? Because I mean, nowadays I've heard even a few people, they're now starting to talk about using SEO again instead of necessarily the social media anymore. Like social media isn't giving them the audience that they need. And so they're looking at SEO and search engines again and talking about blogs to actually get people coming to them and get their marketing out there. So it's not something that's like, oh, I could just use social media now and I'll just be fine. They'll get you only so far, but in the end, you need your own area. I mean, there's people out there whose Facebook's accounts got removed because, you know, they've been flagged for doing, you know, stuff like unsoliciting sales or not being who they are and having somebody else use it. And so their Facebook account is gone. They might get reinstated, but their ad account is gone. They get stuff removed. It's not necessarily a free area to be playing within Facebook. You may lose that. And so then where do you start? So why build off of somebody else's land when you can have your own land in your own beautiful house?
Yeah. And I think that's a key to it is I might not be able to afford the beautiful house I want today. So I'll rent some space on Facebook or I'll rent some space on a landing page. And instead of wasting all the time and money going into a subpar house on the internet, save your pennies, keep your landing page, keep your social media, and put your pennies towards actually creating something that's long lasting and going to be sustainable, because even a website that's revamped still has working parts that still they can change pictures, but the workings are still the same. And still, if it works, it works. And I'm telling you, if it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah, you can usually drive people away with confusing them and not having a clear message on there or a usable site.
Yeah. So I mean, I appreciate having someone like you to be able to take us to a different level and take us to something that is a beautiful, you know, it's a beautiful house on the internet. It's a beautiful piece of property. It's a beautiful place to live so that people can visit us there, because that really is the part about having a pretty website or a user-friendly website is you want people to come back. You want them to come and hang out, because that's where you're going to get a lot of business. You're going to get actually credibility from having one. And if you have working buttons, I know that's something that I always laugh, because I'll go to a page and it's from like 2011 and you know, it goes to all the error pages, and I'm thinking, okay, they're probably not in business anymore. When the truth is they're in business, they just haven't cleaned up their house. Like their house is falling down around their ears.
Yep.
Because they thought that it was something they could do themselves, and it wasn't.
Yep, exactly.
So if you were gonna meet with somebody about their real estate, they're just starting a company and they're needing to grow up basically in the business world and create a website, what would be the first thing that you would do with them? Like, what would you ask of them so that they could start preparing for a meeting with you?
So the first thing that I would ask, and I just have funny a podcast on this. The first thing I'd ask is, who is your audience, and what is your main goal for them? Well, who's your audience? What is your message? And what is the main goal you're trying to shoot for? Because if you don't understand who you're trying to talk to and what your message you're trying to get across to them, then your website is already not going to work, because that's what your website needs to show, is be able to talk to those people you're trying to reach with the message that you're trying to push out, and then understanding, okay, so what is my first goal? Because having too many goals on there, in other words, having too many like calls to action, it's going to be confusing. And so all those three things combine together to make a really great start to a website. And then from there, there's a lot of stuff to support those three things.
I love it though, because if someone hires someone like you to do it, they're actually going to get to think that out instead of just assuming they know the answer to something. And I think that's a big key for me is I think I know the right answer. And then come to find out that wasn't the right answer. Like as far as we just changed our colors a little bit, like with the website you just did for us.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny because I would have never wanted it changed. And when you sent me the pictures, it's like, oh my gosh, that is like so amazing. But it wasn't amazing to me when I'm thinking about it. You know, it's like I was set on what I had, I guess. And because of those color changes, now we've actually changed and we're in the process of changing our logo to match that more clean and crisp thing that, you know, that came from, it came from seeing it separate. It came from, you know, seeing it in a different way that I would not have seen it had you not done it. And so I think that's another key thing is you might have something you think is great, but you know, a witty web girl can like help you see something even better.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting is one getting outside of your own bias, because I know in a lot of realms we have our biases against what either like with change or with not having the ownership or with not coming up with the idea. I mean, a lot of those biases that we all have as humans. And so to be able to step out that side of the realm and see like, okay, what is possible? And that's what's a great thing about like with this class, collaboration. It's like, okay, what is possible, you know, with collaboration now that, you know, I totally understand it. And that it's like, I can reach outside my box. Same thing with, you know, your own needs for your own website. And certainly you're working within your realm of what you can do. And if you don't really recognize to work with others, you might not recognize that there's actually a lot more to it when you put more people brains together to make it happen. So I was thrilled that we were able to work on your website and bring it to be how you truly are. And surely it was somewhat in the eyes of how I see you, but I think it really clarifies what you bring to the world, which is amazing, wonderful programs and possibilities and groups. And it's just like you have a lot going on, girl. So it's like your website needs to show that and make it shine. And so that's what I think this website does for you.
Well, I have to agree that you have made it look a whole lot more like what I think it should look like, but I would have never chosen that. Like I would have never done that had it not been for you. So thank you for your sweet words, first off, because like I am grateful you're in my life, and I'm grateful you are on our team, because the changes are big to me, even though the changes are not big to you. Like to me, it's, and I just had this conversation yesterday with somebody, is we get so attached to something, we almost put an emotion of that's my baby on there. And so it's really hard when somebody says your baby's ugly or your baby needs to be prettier or your baby needs to change. Yeah. And so it's like, okay, wait a minute. And I was telling someone else this and was laughing when we were talking yesterday, because it's like, oh, I guess I should like preach to myself for a minute.
We all have those moments, right? Where it's just like you're so invested into the decision that you made or the things that you've made, you know, the things you made, decisions you made, those things that, you know, are dear to your heart. And so for someone to come and kind of shake you a little bit, going, hey, you know, there is something a little bit, maybe a little tweak that you could do. And it's just like, no, that's mine. Get away from my shiny pig. It's my pig, you know, even though it shouldn't be shiny.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I couldn't imagine what you were saying with words. I'm so visual. Yeah. But it's funny because as soon as you showed me visually, I was sold, you know. And so I think that that's something to be completely said of, if you have a website and you're watching and it's not impactful, you're not getting results from it, it's definitely worth, you know, setting a time, paying a consulting fee, whatever you need to do to get started. Because, and I will say this, if I had it to do over again, I would I would do it differently. I mean, I think that's the key to this is I would do it differently. But because I was short on time and short on money, when I started creating something, I chose to do it messy, which is not a problem. But you need to also remember that messy is something that when you're in the baby stage of, even think about real estate again. When you're young, you might have an apartment, I'll say, instead of a house. Or you might buy your first house and it's a 2-bedroom instead of a 4-bedroom, But what if you saved your money just a little bit longer and you went ahead and bought the 4-bedroom because you were smart about what you did with your money? And I think as a new entrepreneur, sometimes we get caught up in every new shiny thing. And this is something that's really important, I think. It's really important to have your house look like you and perform like you want it to perform, so that when you invite people over to your house on the internet, aka your website, it's important that it does reflect you. And I will be honest, I thought because my picture was on the other one that it was fine. And then now after seeing this, I'm like, yeah, that wasn't so good.
It was good for the moment, it was working for you then. And that's the thing, is that you don't actually have to, go all out and speed to make sure it's all perfect in the first chance. Is that this website is going to continuously grow and change and modify to be what you need it to be. And so it's just another iteration of your business.
Yeah. Well, I love it. And I love that you have walked that journey with me on this trip, because it's still got a long way to go, because this princess has got so much going on to put on there. I just laugh because it's like, oh yeah, I got to get that to Mary Jo, and oh yeah, I got to find those pictures, and yeah, I've got to do this, and she just waits patiently. So,
yep, you can't do anything until it's there.
But thank you so much for being on the Collaboration Summit, and thank you so much for taking the class. I do want to make the announcement though that anyone who wants to have a lot of wisdom poured into their life, you need to go and sign up for Mary Jo's podcast. She has got it going on. She's even got a podcast to help people. So tell them the name and where they can find it, Mary Jo.
Yeah, it's called The Witty Web Girl, and currently it's on Stitcher as well as Spotify, and then shortly it'll be on YouTube as well as iTunes. iTunes might be a while, but at least the other ones you can find it on.
Well, and you spell it a little different. Will you type it in the comments just to make sure everybody finds the right one?
Yes, the girl with a U, but yes, I will.
I just want to make sure everybody's able to find it because it is so good. Oh, I think Young just did it.
Oh, Young, oh, she's awesome. Her class is awesome. And yeah, talk about reaching yourself outside your box. Jeez, getting podcasts going. That's so new for me, but I'm so excited to do it.
Well, and honestly, hooking your podcast, or connecting, I don't guess hooking is the right word, connecting your podcast to your website is another really sexy thing too. So you really need to get on and watch Mary Jo's stuff and follow her and learn. And man, I'm just excited.
I'm excited too. I'm I got so much I want to do right now.
We might have created a monster.
Yes. I'm going to have all these next time you're going to see me, I'm going to be all like this and be I got so much going on. I can't even do my own hair.
That's so funny. Yeah. Well, thank you for being on the Collaboration Summit. And we will be back tomorrow at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time for session number 6.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mary Jo.
Thank you.
Love you guys. If you're following us, keep following us and checking out all the amazing sauce that has happened in this Collaboration Summit already, because there's more to come. Love you guys.